Hi, my friends, and welcome to Storytime for the week of October 18th, 2020. I'm so glad that you decided to tune in today to have online Storytime with me today. Do you remember what we're talking about? I told you last week. I'll give you a clue. They're big and round and orange. You find them in a patch or sometimes on people's front porches. Yeah, pumpkins! We're going to talk about pumpkins today. So, we haven't talked about pumpkins yet. I have 2 new songs for you and a new book and a pumpkin craft that we're going to make at the end of our online story time. So, if you want to, let's get started. If you're at home, you can stand up right now. We have some movements to do with our first song. If you know the song Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, you'll know the melody of our song Pumpkin, Pumpkin. And if you will, you can move along with me. Are you ready? Oh, and because it's a new song, we'll sing it twice. Here we go. Ready? Crouch down. Pretend I'm crouching. Pumpkin, pumpkin on the ground, how'd you get so big and round? Once you were a seed so small, now you are a great big ball. Crouch down again. Pumpkin, pumpkin on the ground, how'd you get so big and round? All right, are you ready to do that a second time? Here we go. Pumpkin, pumpkin on the ground, how'd you get so big and round? Once you were a seed so small, now you are a great big ball. Pumpkin, pumpkin on the ground, how'd you get so big and round? Very good, very good. Are you ready to read a book with me about pumpkins? This book is called The Pumpkin Book by Gail Gibbons. Gail Gibbons writes wonderful, wonderful, wonderful expository nonfiction for children. So this is a nonfiction book. Do you know what nonfiction is? Well, often we read picture books that are made-up stories, and they're fun and funny and silly sometimes, and those are called fiction because they're not based on a real thing, all right? But this is nonfiction, meaning it's all about something real, and it's boy, it's hard to describe without using the word nonfiction, but it's all about something that's real and something you might be able to relate to, and it's not a made-up story. It's factual. So, we're going to read this book about pumpkins, The Pumpkin Book by Gail Gibbons. All right, here we go. I hope you can see my book. I'll turn it a little for you. See the pictures. Pumpkins come in all shapes and sizes. Pumpkins are members of the squash family. There are many different kinds of pumpkins. Small pumpkins, big pumpkins, round pumpkins, tall pumpkins. Look at all those different pumpkins. Gardeners and farmers call them pumpkin varieties. Some pumpkins have a smooth skin, and others have lots of bumps. In the springtime, when the sun's rays begin to warm the soil, it's planting time. Some gardeners turn the soil to get it ready to plant a small pumpkin patch. That's what they're doing. They're getting their soil ready to plant the pumpkins. A pumpkin patch is where pumpkins are grown. Some farmers use their plows, to slice through and turn over the dirt. The field will eventually be a huge pumpkin patch. If you live around here, you find pumpkin patches nearby, don't you? Not always the ones you can go to pick, but along our highways, we find lots of pumpkins this time of year growing. The soil is ready. It is time to plant the pumpkin seeds. The beginning of a pumpkin is curled up inside each pumpkin. Do you see it up there? There's the beginning of a pumpkin, that little tiny thing. Food is stored there too. The seed has a seed coat on the outside to protect it. The bigger the seed, the bigger the variety of pumpkin that will grow. So if you see, there's the beginning of the pumpkin right there. And here inside the seed shell is food. And there's the coating all around the seed. Sometimes pumpkin seeds are planted in rows. Other times they're planted in small circular areas called hills. Several shallow holes are poked into the ground, and one pumpkin seed is dropped into each hole and covered with dirt. Each hill should be about 3 feet to 6 feet apart and give the plant lots of room to grow. Lots of room to grow. A pumpkin seed won't sprout until the dirt is warm and the water has soaked the seed to soften its coat. Once the seed coat breaks open, the root begins to grow down into the soil. It takes in water and minerals from the soil for food. After about 1 week, 2 leaves appear where each pumpkin seed was planted. Do you see those, the leaves? These smooth leaves are called seed leaves. They begin to make more food for the plant from the sunlight and air. After a few days, small pumpkin vine leaves appear. These leaves look different. They are prickly and have rough, jagged edges. More new vine leaves grow. Stems begin to grow and twist, crawling along the ground as they become vines. Do you see the leaves and then the vines? The vines grow thicker and thicker. They grow curly tendrils that wrap themselves around other parts of the plant to help spread the vines. Gold-colored flowers begin to bloom. See the flowers? A pumpkin begins to grow when a grain of pollen from the stamen of a male pumpkin flower lands on the stigma of a female pumpkin flower. This is called pollination. Sometimes pollen moves from flower to flower when the wind blows. Bees and other insects help pollinate too. Pollen rubs on and off their bodies as the bees travel from flower to flower in search of nectar to eat. The female flower has a small green ball beneath its blossom. Do you see that? When the flower is pollinated, the little ball begins to grow. It is a very small pumpkin. Over time, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. The pumpkin skin begins to turn from green to orange. All of the pumpkins in the pumpkin patch begin to turn orange. Look at all of them. In the fall, when the vines begin to dry up and die, it is harvest time. It usually takes from 80 to 120 days, depending on the variety of pumpkin, for a seed to grow into a ripened pumpkin. It is ready to pick if it feels hard on the outside and sounds hollow when tapped. Often shears are used to clip the pumpkins from their vines, leaving about 3 inches of stem. See the stems? The stem helps to keep the harvested pumpkin from getting moldy. Ugh. During the fall, more and more pumpkins of many shapes and sizes appear at roadside stands and stores. All kinds of different varieties of pumpkins there. Fall makes people think of country fairs. Sometimes awards are given for the biggest, the prettiest, or, look at that one, I bet that's the strangest pumpkin. The biggest pumpkin ever grown was in New York State in 1996. It weighed about as much as a small car, 1,061 pounds. And you can Google that at home because I bet there's been a bigger pumpkin since 1996. Check it out at home. Find out what the biggest pumpkin ever grown was. At fairs, there are pumpkin pie tasting contests too. Sounds great, doesn't it? When the Pilgrims came to the New World, friendly Native American Indians showed them how to plant pumpkins. Often, the Native American women were the pumpkin farmers of their tribes. The Pilgrims ate pumpkins every day in different forms, such as pumpkin bread, pumpkin pie, and pumpkin seed cereal. Thanksgiving reminds people of the Pilgrims' first harvest season. They wanted to give thanks for the food they would have through the cold winter months. They celebrated by having a Thanksgiving feast. That's coming up next month. Are you excited for all the food and the pumpkin pie and the pumpkin roll? I like pumpkin roll. Halloween is on October 31st. We're getting closer. A long time ago, people believed that ghosts, witches, and goblins roamed around that night. Some people built bonfires to scare them away. Later, October 31st was called All Hallows Eve, which means or All Hallows Even, which means Holy Evening. It was the night before the church festival called All Hallows or All Saints Day. All Hallows Eve was shortened to Halloween. Today, Halloween is celebrated in different ways. How do you celebrate Halloween? There are pumpkins at Halloween, right? It's great to carve pumpkins into what you want them to be. Funny pumpkins, scary pumpkins, beautifully carved pumpkins. There's a tutorial here. I'll hold it up for you if you want to push pause to read how to carve a pumpkin. Always have an adult place and light the candle. That's important if you're carving a pumpkin, okay? Some people place a candle or a light inside and light it so the pumpkin will shine in all its glory on Halloween night. Do you make jack-o'-lanterns at home? Do you carve pumpkins? They're so much fun. For the last several years, we've done carving pumpkins here at the library and offered that to families to come here to carve their pumpkin. But I don't think we're permitted to do that this year, unfortunately, with COVID. But if that changes, I'll let you know next week. Maybe you could come carve a pumpkin. That would be so much fun. Other people decorate pumpkins with paint, glitter, and other decorations. These pumpkins can last a long time because they haven't been carved. No two pumpkins are alike. They all have their very own personalities. Look at those pumpkins. They're pretty cool, aren't they? Do you maybe paint them at home or put stickers on them? I'm having a hard time flipping my page. All lined up on Halloween night, they're a glowing sight to behold. Isn't it amazing that all this began with a few small pumpkin seeds? Glow, pumpkins, glow. I hope you make a jack-o'-lantern at home. And then at the very end of the book, and I will hold it for you. I hope you can see that. If you'd like to zoom in and read it. There's a little bit more about pumpkins and how to dry your pumpkin seeds if you want to store them for later or snack on them. Maybe roast them. All right, we have another song to sing, my friends. Are you ready? It's called Mr. Pumpkin. And this is a sing and repeat song. So, from home, I will point at you when it's your time to sing, and from home you will sing along with me. All right, let me clear my throat. Are you ready? Mr. Pumpkin. That's where you sing. Mr. Pumpkin. Eyes so round, eyes so round. Halloween Halloween is coming, Halloween is coming to my town, to my town. All right, it's a new song, so we'll sing it a second time. Are you ready? Mr. Pumpkin, Mr. Pumpkin, eyes so round, eyes so round. Halloween is coming, Halloween is coming to my town, to my town. Very good. We have a pumpkin craft to make today, and I have made one already to show you what it looks like. It's a little pumpkin made out of the paper, and the only things you need today are a piece of paper. I have both green for my stem and orange for my pumpkin, but if you don't have green and orange paper at home, it's okay. They can be any color, or if you have white, you can color it with a crayon or marker before you cut your paper. I have my scissors, and I have a glue stick, but you can use any kind of glue. Glue, like regular glue, glue stick, paste. I don't know if anybody uses paste anymore, but we used to use paste when I was a kid. Tape works well, and staples too, okay? So, I have a glue stick though. All right, I'm going to turn this down so you can watch me work. So sorry, boys and girls. I accidentally hit the stop button when I pushed my camera back. So this week, we have 2 videos. The second video is just the craft only. So again, we're going to make this craft with a piece of orange paper and a piece of green scrap, my scissors, and a glue stick. All right, I'll try this again. Moving down the video so that you can watch me work. All right, do you see my piece of paper? Very good. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is that correct? Is it like this? Yeah, that's correct. All right, the first thing we're going to do is cut our paper in half. All right, so I folded it in half. And now we're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to cut that half in half. I think you see where this is going. All right, and then we're going to get this half in half. Okay, so at this point we pushed one away. We have 4. I'm going to cut them in half. We're just using 3 of our things. All right. You have a paper cutter at home, that works really great too. Okay, so now we have several of these. We're going to lay them out to see how many we need. 1, 2, do you see the crisscross shape? 3, I guess we only need 4. I wasn't sure. 4. All right, push those aside for another craft another day. Okay, now we're going to start with our glue. our glue stick. In the middle, I'm going to put some glue. And I'm going to put my other part of a pumpkin, and then more glue in the middle. And I'm going to see how I lay that at a diagonal in between my cross shape, my T, and then more glue. And we've made what essentially looks like an orange snowflake, doesn't it? But we are not finished. Now we start with the top one, the most recent glued, and we're going to put a little glue on its upturned side and make a circle with its other end. See? Make a circle with its other end. And then we go to the next one down. Put a little bit here. And we'll bring this one up. Add a little more glue and bring its other side up. Now we have half our pumpkin. And then we'll put a little more glue on the top. And I couldn't check. Couldn't remember which one was next. Bring the next one up. Add just a little more glue. And bring that one together. And then finally, we have one step to do before we put up this last one. We need to cut our stem. So I'm going to cut a little bit off of mine. And then I'm going to maybe just give it a little bit of a shape. Doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Just free cut it however you'd like. And then we're going to bend it just a little bit and put it this way so that your bend pushes back toward the one that you still have to bring up, okay? Actually, we need to move that up just a little bit. So we are going to put this piece that's down here up over top of this little green stem. All right, and then a little more glue, and finally the last piece of our pumpkin. And there we have it. There is our pumpkin craft today. Easy peasy. You could put a face on it if you choose. Make it look like a little pumpkin jack-o'-lantern if you choose to do that. It has been so very fun today singing and reading about pumpkins and making our pumpkin craft together. I'm so glad you tuned in. Sorry about the little glitch with hitting the stop button. But I'm human and I make mistakes a lot. I'm so glad you came to join me today. I can't wait until you come back into the library for story time. Until then, I'll be here every week doing an online story time with you. I miss you, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.